Thank you for attending the Week of Kindness. Coming up next is another powerful, impactful, amazing speaker. Get your notepad out, get your pen. Let's get ready and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. I'm Deborah Hollick, and I would like to welcome you to the Week of Kindness and Gratitude. This is so exciting to be here today. We have a very dynamic speaker, and her name is Jackie Bailey. She is the director of Speak, Feed, Lead project, and Jackie is an international conversation coach for kids and adults. So she, on separate occasions that were years apart, discovered how 3 words could break a life, save a life, and change a life. Your voice is your superpower, used to poison or pardon another. In this presentation, you'll hear the true story of a trauma survivor. Jackie believes your voice should never be silenced. Your voice is significant, and your voice is the hearing salve to injury. Jackie's presentation is called Your Voice, Your Value, Your Victory Over Trauma. And please, let's welcome Jackie Bailey to our conversation. Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Deborah.
I am so excited to be here with you today. I love this when people share their stories, and I'm so excited to hear yours. So how about I just let you take it away and just share what you want to share with us, and somewhere along the line I'll pop in with a few questions. How's that?
All right, sounds great. Thank you so much. I am Jackie Bailey, and I do what I do today, which is empower the voices of children, teens, and adults, because I was completely silenced as a child. Not because I was a mute or lost my voice in a physical sense, but I was told, don't tell anyone. And that would happen after many occasions in the middle of the night when my abuser would come in. And, I remember hearing him coming from outside the room into the hallway. And I remember trying to tuck my blankets tight around me so that I wouldn't make it easy. But after it was always over, that's what he said. Don't tell anyone.
I'm so sorry, Jackie.
You know what? It's okay. I am who I am today, and I get to do what I do today because of that. But it really changed me. I mean, I didn't ever really say much because I was always afraid I might say something that I wasn't supposed to say. And in social situations, I was fairly quiet, and I didn't necessarily initiate conversations with people. Again, there was always this fear in the back of my mind that I might say something that's going to get me in trouble. And I know that there are many children today who have had traumatic experiences like mine and are feeling silenced, and not just children, but adults as well. If statistics are right, most of us have had some sort of experience that had silenced us at some point. Many of the students that I work with in our public speaking courses have felt very silenced during the pandemic. They were not allowed to talk with their friends or see their friends, and they couldn't go to school for some period of time. When they did go back to school, it was like what we're doing here, and there wasn't a lot of engagement. There wasn't an opportunity to necessarily ask questions or to visit or socialize with friends. And so many ways they have felt silenced. And what happens to you when you feel silenced is you just stop talking, and it traumatizes you in doing that alone.
Yeah, you stop talking, or you stuff it down, or you use something as a crutch. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. And many times you start to just undermine your own value, because if what I have to say isn't worth hearing, then I must not be worth anything. As children, we don't always interpret things in a intelligent way because we don't have enough life experience to know how to deal with those things. So we start interpreting them emotionally. And it always goes inward that, well, if I can't do this, then it's because I'm not good. Or if I can't do that, it's because I'm not, special enough, or I'm not cute enough, or pretty enough, or masculine enough, or tough enough, or whatever it might be. Kids are always, I must not be enough if I can't do this. And my message is to everybody listening is you are enough. Right now, as you are enough. And you have something to contribute. And that's really one of the more important messages I give my students is you have a voice to share. It needs to be heard. And it's going to be a significant inspiration to someone that hears you.
Well, that's a powerful message indeed, Jackie, and one that needs to be shared, I think, and shared over and over and over again with people, because it's, we take our cues as children from adults. So you're right. You're absolutely right. We feel like nothing if someone has put us down in that way, or don't tell, like you said. So Jackie, what 3 words did you hear that you felt broke your life? Was it those 3 words?
It was don't tell anyone. As I said, it did break me, and it broke me for years. As a survivor, or as someone in the midst of abuse, you tend to just think about the day. I got into high school, and my peers started talking about going to this college, or going to study that, or wanting to do this in their career. And I never had those aspirations, because I thought, I just got to get through the day. If I can survive the day, I'm good. But I always had this voice inside of me that said, if you live through this, you're going to be a strong person. And so even though I felt very weak in those moments, I always had this voice telling me, if you survive this, you're going to be strong. And that kept me going. So even though those 3 words of don't tell anyone, there were also other words in my mind spoken by someone or to my soul in some way that was telling me, you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay.
So would you say that that's the 3 words that saved your life?
It actually is not. Well, the 3 words, yes, the 3 words that saved my life are very powerful. Let me build the story up to that point, because my the chronic abuser, I had many abusers. It wasn't just the one that would come in my room at night, but the more chronic abuser was an older brother. And as I said, I went all these years, I never told. I got married. I had 2 children. And then he got married, and he had a baby girl.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, this sent me into a real emotional tailspin, because my life I could handle. But knowing and keeping my own children safe, I felt I could handle. But keeping his daughter safe, I didn't know how in the world I could do that. And I started to realize I needed to let people know that this was a danger to her. And it was months where I was in emotional turmoil over this, because I had a lot at risk. If I were to break the silence, I could risk my marriage. Maybe my husband wouldn't love me anymore. If I was thinking he'd see how ugly I truly was. What if no one believed me and my family decided I was crazy and they tried to take my kids away from me? That was some of the things that I risked. But on the other side of it, I knew that if I went to my grave, and that's what I was considering, if I went to my grave and I hadn't told, well, then would my own children be protected? And more importantly, for this situation is, would my niece be protected? And the answer to those questions were as a clear no to me. And I determined that I actually loved my children and my niece more than I hated myself. And I stuck around, and I said 3 more magical words that changed my life, which was, I have a secret. And I started saying that to the people I felt needed to know first. And I said it first to my husband. I felt that he needed to know why I was so emotionally distraught over the last several months. And I had a 2-year-old son and a 3.5-year-old daughter, and I was not being a good mother to them because I just couldn't. I was in this crisis. And so he actually felt a little relieved by hearing I have a secret and telling him what happened to me. He felt relieved because at least it made sense to him as to my behavior of late. And then I started to see a therapist. And it's interesting, the first day that I went to see this therapist, which she was wonderful, one of the first questions she asked me is, do you think you can forgive? And I kind of laughed because, I mean, at that point, I was in such crisis, knowing that I was on this timeline where I needed to save this other life or not, right? Her question was so funny. It was almost like she was asking me, do you think you could pick up a semi-truck trailer and throw it across the road right now? You know, it just seemed that humongous. Yeah.
I can understand, like, where am I supposed to get the strength? I barely got the strength to see you.
Exactly. That's the thing. I've just finally come to terms with what I needed to do here. And now you're asking me to go, you know, from 1 to 10. and I just laughed, and she goes, well, here's the thing. You don't have to forgive today. You don't have to forgive tomorrow. You don't even have to forgive until you die. You never have to forgive in this life if you don't want to. But, she said, if you're not at least working toward that end, you will never truly heal. All right. So that played into this voice I always had in my head that said, if you live through this, you're going to be a strong person. And so what she was telling me now is that part of being that strong person was being able to get to some point where I might even consider forgiving this, right? But it was a lot of years. And one by one, I had to let other family members in with those 3 words. I have a secret. But the best thing that happened with that is that little girl was protected. Family began to know this is a threat. And they set about protecting her, watching every move that was made in her home. And eventually she was even taken out of the home, away from my brother, and was kept safe. Now, she was never told why she couldn't go stay the night with her dad, even as a teenager. She was never told why there were those restrictions there. She couldn't understand it, but she was safe. And that was the important thing. And so those 3 words, I have a secret, not only started to change my life so that I could work through the healing process, but it changed and literally saved her life. So that's where we are. Do you wonder if I was able to forgive or not?
I am wondering, because I'm thinking that's going to be a pretty tough one to go. Yeah. So share more. I'm enthralled.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's interesting as you say that, Deborah, that it would be a difficult road. And you're right. Let me step aside for a second and tell you, in 2015, when I was in an international world championship of public speaking contest, I had won the certain levels of contest, and I was going on to the semifinals. And people who had known me for years, when I broke my story, when I started sharing on stage the story of my abuse, they were shocked because I'd been a leader. I'd been a go-getter. I'd been a mentor. I'd been someone that they had looked up to and helped them reach their own milestones. And no one knew that I had had such a traumatic childhood. And as I would share my story on stage and I would mention this idea that I was working toward forgiveness, there were people who would get downright angry at me, claiming, how could that ever happen? What a monster. How could you forgive something like that? And they became angry. And I realized that it wasn't that they were angry at me. It was that they were facing their own demons and facing that what I was saying, that, you know, one of my counselors said that to me, They got angry just as I laughed when she said it. Many people felt a different guttural reaction, which was anger, because they had not dealt with their own traumatic history. And so just by sharing that message, I started to change lives of people as well. And what was in that message is what actually happened years after I had gone through therapy. We'd moved away to a whole different state. And I think healing is a lifelong process, but I was starting to feel really good and happy with life. I felt my career was going where I wanted it to. And one day out of the blue, my husband asked if I had ever been able to forgive. And had to consider that for a second. And I said, you know what? I have. I really think I have. I don't have any animosity. I don't feel fear. I don't feel anger. I don't feel suppressed any longer. I think I'm good. And then he asked another question, which was, does he know? Well, no. I guess he doesn't, because I haven't said anything. I was just figuring it out for myself, right?
How are you supposed to tell him when you hadn't even yet quite acknowledged it all for yourself?
Exactly. So the next step I took then was to fly home and make an appointment with my brother. And I faced him and I said the next 3 magical words. I forgive you.
And that was the 3 words that changed a life.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what I didn't realize, Deborah, is that all those years when I was the victim and he had this power or control over me, even to the point where I was silenced, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never realized that at some point in the healing process, when I had become that stronger person that I always was told by that voice that I could be, I didn't realize that I then held the key to his prison cell. I had become the master of his fate at some point. And so when I said those 3 magical words, I forgive you, it released him as well as me. But the discovery for me was that it released him from this hole that he had been in, where he had not been able to progress. He'd been in and out of relationships that always turned sour. He'd been in and out of prison for similar crimes. He couldn't hold down a job very well. I mean, his life was crappy, to say the least.
Yeah.
And when I said to him, I forgive you, and he broke down and sobbed, it was because we had both been released from what we held over each other. And I got to say, it was beautiful. And all those people that got angry when I was talking in my speech about forgiving, they're missing out on so much when they don't work through that process, because my brother's life completely changed. It really did. And it was because now he had the permission to actually heal himself. When you know you've been forgiven for something that caused such pain and trauma, it's a pretty magical deal.
Well, and he was probably at that point. I mean, they say forgiveness is a gift we give to ourselves, which obviously I think in many cases it is. And in your case, it sounds like it certainly was. But also in hearing your story, Jackie, it sounds like when you said to your brother, I forgive you, you also empowered him to begin his path of forgiveness for himself, for him to maybe not see himself as the forever monster. Maybe he realized, yes, he traumatized you and he was your monster for a long time, but maybe he didn't have to be a forever monster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, when you think about someone giving you permission to be good, to change, that's pretty powerful. And so his life changed completely. He has a job that he's had for years. My niece was kept safe as far as I can tell. In fact, it wasn't until, and this is sort of the double side of that year in 2015 when I was competing, I was telling my story and I was getting both really powerful reaction and then the anger reaction. Let me skip a beat here, just one second. On one occasion, when I was practicing the speech, and the way it would work is I had 6 weeks from when I won my district level to where I was going to the international level. And so I had 6 weeks to prepare and practice the speech. And I was giving it to audiences everywhere. I was having businesses like Microsoft and our energy company and Amazon. They were asking me to come and give my speech to their employees at luncheons and whatnot because they knew I needed a place to practice and they wanted to be able to hear it as sort of their representative going on to this next level. And I was at this occasion where I was practicing this speech. And it was at a hospital, actually. It was a cancer treatment center. And it was in their cafeteria. And I'm not sure even who hosted it or how it came about, but I'm assuming the audience of about 50 people were mostly doctors, maybe some nurses, patients, families of patients, other medical personnel. I don't know exactly who they were, but as was customary, after I finished the speech, people would go around the room and they would give me feedback. They would talk about did they feel was the most inspiring part of my message? What could I say or do to make it even stronger and more powerful? Were they confused about anything? Something like that. As we went around the room on this particular occasion, there was one young man who just did not seem to fit. He was wearing a white tank top and black shorts. He had lots of tattoos on his body. He had some piercings on his face. He didn't look like a doctor. He didn't look like medical personnel. And I don't mean to stereotype, but he just seemed out of place for the occasion. But he stood up when it came to him to give feedback. And he said, I don't really have anything to say about your speech, but I am an abuser.
Oh boy.
And for the first time, I know what my victims go through.
Wow.
That's what he said.
What a brave person, really.
No kidding. I could not believe that he would have, like you say, the courage to stand up and say that. And secondly, to admit his faults in front of these people who he may not have known. I mean, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure how we fit into this occasion. But that was really when I was convinced that sharing our stories changes other lives too. It makes a big difference. And it's not just always what we do, but it's what we can say and what we share. And when we're willing to be vulnerable to share our own trauma and our own mistakes or whatnot, it changes the lives of other people as well. And I can only hope that this person stopped abusing and that he was able to at some point forgive himself as well. And that same summer, however, my brother blew it. One mistake that cost him everything. And my niece now at this time, she was about 28 years old, an adult woman, not married, but in a pretty steady relationship. She's like, what is happening with my dad? She couldn't believe that he'd been arrested for something like that. She had no idea and ever suspected that could have happened. And so in questioning her mom about how could dad have done something like this, she says, well, maybe you should talk to your Aunt Jackie.
Oh boy.
And so she called me and we had the most beautiful conversation. And Deborah, she was safe her whole life. She never knew that there was any reason to worry about her dad because you know what? What I did protected her. And we never know. We never truly know sometimes that that our actions we take are actually going to benefit somebody else. We don't always know how we influence the lives of other people. And I'm so grateful. Not that he Not that he did something, but that I had an occasion to learn that she had been okay her whole life and never had any idea that her father had a problem like that. And so my message really is that our voice is everything. It literally is our value. And it can be so much a part of our victory over any trauma that we experience, because those 3 words on those different occasions, the first one was don't tell anyone. And then there was I have a secret and I forgive you. Those are powerful phrases that start the transformation, whether good or bad, that will lead you to another path. And being able to share our stories with each other. I know my story has healed other people because they've told me so. They would come up after my speeches and say, oh my gosh, you're right. I really need to forgive my mom, or there's something that's really been bothering me. I need to break the silence too.
Well, and that's a really good feeling, isn't it?
It is. I hate to think and I hate to learn that people have had similar experiences to me, but it is reality, unfortunately. We can become stronger though. I've come to learn in the last several years that as a radio show host, and I talk to people who have taken very traumatic challenges in their life and they've made something good out of it. And they've turned it around to be able to inspire so many other people. And I believe that perhaps that's why we have those traumatic experiences, is because we have a grander mission. And that is to use our voice, to share our stories, to share our experiences, and perhaps those 3 magical words that each of us has to share that will save a life and change a life of the people who hear us. And that's what I hope to help my students to realize as well.
Well, that's great. And I'm sure you already have in many ways, and even in the short time we've had together. And unfortunately, we're getting near the end of our time. So I want to thank you for sharing all of that. But I also understand you've got something else you might want to share with our audience. We've got about, I think about 4 minutes left. So
Okay.
Please share what you want. And also, where can the audience reach you if they want to reach out to you and find out even more information?
Yes, go to speakfeedlead.org, speakfeedlead.org to find me, email me, message me, whatever you'd like to do. My gift for everyone today is a conscious building neuroscientific tool that allows us to change our mindset every day from a more negative state to a positive state. And as you're going through any healing process, that is such an important method to use to help you to heal. And I do it with my students every day as well at the start of every class. It's called Positive Prime. And typically you would pay a monthly membership to be involved in watching these vision boards on steroids that has music attached to them, that just in 3 minutes, science has proven you'll have 6 to 8 hours of positive benefit that will help you make more money, help you to get more jobs or clients, will help you to be a better person in any relationship, help you to be more successful in school or career, whatever you're doing. Literally 3 minutes a day can do that for you. And I'm offering everyone 30 days free. You don't even have to put in a credit card to sign up for it. So it's not like you're going to have to remember to cancel it if you don't want to at the end of 30 days. You get 30 days free, no strings attached, but I hope that you will use it. And every day, tap in, watch a video. I have a session on there that's called Speak with Power and Purpose. I made it specifically for my students. And you'll not only see images of people doing kind and wonderful things, but you'll see affirmation statements that come up that I hope you'll say to yourself and internalize because they're all true for you. And watch hundreds of other sessions, some by people like Jack Canfield, Sean Johal, and enjoy that for 30 days. And I hope then you will decide you want to be a subscriber because you've seen the changes in your life. Positive Prime, 30 days free. Go out there and get it.
All right, everybody, go to speakfeedlead.org for more information. on the speaker page. If you haven't already, click on the link and just enjoy that. I'm going to click on the link. Sure. So thank you so much, Jackie. It's been a pleasure hearing your story and chatting with you today. It's been an honor for me to be able to interview you. And everybody, enjoy the week of kindness and gratitude and all of the wonderful speakers, and be sure to click in on Jackie's great offer. So with that, anything, I'm going to give you the last word, and then I'm just going to say goodbye.
Your voice is your value over the victory over all trauma. Remember that. Use it.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Jackie. Bye-bye.
Wow. I hope you enjoyed that just as much as I did. Thank you so much for all of that great information. Hey, we're not done yet, so just relax. We're going to continue on with our next speaker in just a few moments.